Before I do any taping and mudding, what I'm going to do is pre-fill these gaps with a quick setting joint compound. A regular joint compound will work, but I prefer to use the quick set because it dries faster and I can get to mudding and taping a lot quicker.
First, I'm going to, since it's a pretty heavy texture, I'm just going to go around and hitting spots.
Pre-filling the joints helps ensure that you're not going to get any cracks on your repair.
All right, now what I'm going to do is where this peeled back, if you look, you can't see it, it's a dusty surface, so what I'm going to do is just wet it with a sponge, lock down that dust.
Let me know in the comments what kind of drywall project you're working on.
Pre-filling the joints significantly decrease the chance of cracking down the road after you've already finished your drywall repair and painted and all that.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more of these type of videos.
I'm going to go over it.
You also want to pack it in the corner. That way it prevents any cracking, and you can also fill the area that peeled off from the old tape. You want it nice and flush, so when you come back and do your mud work and taping, it's going to be just like taping over new drywall.
Go ahead and get a couple screw holes coated.
I'll let this dry for about 30 minutes and show you the next step.
All right, so I'm just going to scrape it off any high areas or ridges on my pan under it.
The reason I like using the quick setting mud is because it's stronger in the gaps, and also you can start doing the mud work a lot sooner than if you used a pre-mixed joint compound. You're going to want to pay special attention to the corners. That way when you're finished with your repair, you have a nice crisp line on the corner. For ceiling repairs, I like to use a Fibafuse drywall tape. It's great for laying flat and also is crack resistant. So that's what I like to use for ceiling repairs. And for the corner, I'm going to be using a paper tape, which gives you a nice crisp line when it's all said and done. For the joint compound, I'm going to use a USG all-purpose joint compound. I like to use that especially for the first coat because it has a lot of glue in it, so it adheres to a painted surface and to the joints real good. What you want to do is just add a little bit of water and get it a little more thinned out, because when you're bedding the tape, you want the joint compound to kind of soak in to the Fibafuse. All you want to do is just kind of go back and forth, just kind of smush it against the side, taking it off, doing it again. You don't want to add too much water initially because it could get too soupy. Just add water as you go. You want to get it to a thick yogurt-like consistency to bed the tape. Keep mixing until everything's uniform. One thing I wanted to mention is that the Fibafuse is a fiberglass matte drywall tape, not to be confused with a fiberglass mesh drywall tape. I'll have a link in the description to my Amazon influencer store where you can check out all the tools I use in this video and all the other videos I have on YouTube. So basically, I'm just getting a thin coat along the whole joint where I had pre-filled before. As you can see, I'm placing the mud to be able to control it a little better, so I'm not making a big wide swath over the joint. You want to keep your mud to a minimum, but probably about a 1/16 of an inch thick to bed the tape in. I'm just going around getting that up. Gonna smooth it out a little bit. You want to keep it pretty consistent. You don't want any humps or bumps. Just light pressure as you go. Then you take your Fibafuse and just kind of roll it out. Pull it tight to the wall. You don't want any sagging in it or anything. And then take your 6-inch taping knife, and it tears real easy. Then you want to start in the middle and go one way and come back the other way. This prevents the tape from crinkling and moving. And then once you get it bedded, you want to go over it another time just to kind of smush out any of the excess joint compound. So I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other joint. Needed a little bit more mud. Smooth that out a bit. Just going to pull the tape tight. I'm actually going right up to the other Fibafuse tape that I just tore. Get a lot of questions about how far over, do you overhang it? And then again, going to tear it out. Super simple, tears easy. Start in the middle, then start in the middle and go the other direction. Now this is a pretty heavy textured ceiling, so I'm going to pay special attention how the mud goes over the texture. I don't want any big blobs or a bunch of mud building down the repair. All right, on this last flat joint, I'm just going to get another layer of mud over here, over the prefill, and then just place the tape where I want it, keeping an eye on where that joint is, and put the tape centered over that. And then I'm going to tear it with my knife, and then go from the center one way, and then back the other way, and then across the whole repair. Clean that up a little bit. Hit those screw holes one more time. You just want to pull most of the mud right back off. It will fill if there's a divot if you go lightly over it and remove the excess joint compound. Go around one more time, just making sure everything's nice and tight. This is going to yield a perfect repair. No humps, no bumps. That's what you're looking for when the repair is completed. You don't want to see humps and bumps. I'm sure everyone's seen a crappy ceiling repair.
So I'm going to use paper tape for the corner. I just want to go out right to the edge and just tear the paper. Then fold it.
This is basically the same concept as the flat tape joints, except you don't want to pile the mud up in the corner. You want to pay special attention to the corners always, because you definitely want a nice crisp line. So I'm just adding the joint compound, probably a 1/16 of an inch thick, maybe a little thicker. I'm going to get it on both sides of the joint where the wall meets the ceiling. So you want to keep it nice and smooth. Light pressure so you do leave the joint compound for the tape to bed in. Then you take your tape, stick it in the seam, and just you can move it back and forth before you press it down, or even after. You can adjust a little bit before you wipe it with your knife. You want to take your finger, just run it down the edge, and then again start in the middle and go one way at the bottom, then in the middle go the other way. Same thing up top. Start in the middle, go one direction, go back to the middle, the other direction. That little spot's not going to matter. We've got 2 more coats and a skim coat going on. So basically you just want to smooth it out. And there's your corner. All right, so here's the repair. We've pre-filled before we did the tape work. Then we used the Fibafuse drywall tape.
So the first thing I'm going to do is scrape any high spots just lightly. I don't want to tear into the tape.
Okay, so next you want to take your 12-inch knife and lay it across the tape joint and see exactly how much of a hump is there created by the drywall tape. It's normal for there to be a little bit of a hump because you're building on top of a flat surface, which basically you're going to have 3 butt joints. So wherever you see the daylight, you just want to go ahead and put a mental note that you're going to need to add more mud in that area, and I'll show you how coming up. You could also mark it with a pencil if you really wanted to know exactly where it was and not have to rely on your memory, but it's usually pretty much the same thing every time. You just want to make sure you don't have too gigantic of a hump. Nice and flat right here.
All right, so this is crucial. I'm going to show you how I put the joint compound on my taping knife to do the next coat. So all on one side, I'm going to keep it as thin as possible right here on the tape. And then since I have to go another direction, I'm going to do it that way. Keeping it thin as possible in the center of the tape. You want to build it out on both sides. Joint compound on the side is minimal amount of joint compound in the center on the tape. We're trying to fill and make it flush. Right, once you got your mud up, you can smooth it out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put pressure on this side of the knife and pull and just let this float over the center. Do the same on the other side. Pressure on the left side of the knife and let this float right over the center of the tape. I'm going to do this side over here next. Minimal in the center. Just going to go over it one more time. Make sure I have enough mud to pull. Going on the left side, minimal in the center. One more time, just to fill. All right, so I'm going to go pressure on the right side, floating on the left. This time pressure on the left, floating over the center of the tape on the right. Same thing down the center here. Left side of the knife. Apply the pressure over here, center tape, right in the center, keep it light. Applying very light pressure. All right, so I'm going to get over here at the corner. All right, I'm just going to go super tight right on the tape where it doesn't have joint compound. I'm not going to mess with what's wet. If you do, that's okay. So again, I'm using the same application of, I'm putting pressure on the right and floating the left so I don't leave any knife marks when I go across the tape. And I'm going to do the opposite right here. I'm going to do the bottom side of this now. I'm not going to go all the way up and get in this mud at all. Just going to get a little bit on the tip. Stay down about an 1/8 to a 1/16 of an inch. We'll catch that on the next coat. Make sure you have plenty of joint compound where you need it. All right. Pressure on the left, floating on the right, no knife marks. nails or screws, hit these screws.
All right, so I did the mud work on the repair. Gonna let that dry.
To see how I skim coated this entire ceiling, I'll leave in a link in the YouTube card above now.
And if you want to catch the next video or any of my upcoming videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button now in the center of the screen to keep up with all my videos. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'll leave some of my most popular video links down below in the description. Thanks so much for watching.